be doing the opening speech. And after that, if our minister is not yet with us, we'll go on with the global perspective part. We'll start with Anna from UN Women, and after Anna, I think it is you. Begum has the list.
Begum, do you know the order in which I will be speaking depending on when the minister speaks?
Sorry.
The participants are coming, so.
And we are on leave now.
After Anna.
After Anna,
I write
okay.
you through chat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting myself to mute.
Evet. Evet.
Hı-hı.
Tamam.
Distinguished guests, welcome to the Women Entrepreneurs Association of Turkey Kagider's panel within 65th session of the Commission on the Status of Women meetings. Just before our session, Turkey's side event was held with the presidency of Her Excellency Zehra Zümrüt Selçuk, the Republic of Turkey Minister for Family, Labor and Social Services. Also, the minister will come to our panel as a keynote speaker. As Her Excellency has limited time, we apologize in advance if change the flow when the minister attends the panel. Now, I would like to introduce President of Kagider Women Entrepreneurs Association of Turkey, Ms. Emine Erdem, for her opening speech.
Dear Minister, dear guests, and dear participants, I'm here addressing you today as the President of Women Entrepreneurs Association of Turkey, Kagider, which is a 19-year-old nationwide non-profit civil society organization that is regarded as the most influential women business association in Turkey. Kagider has been working actively with its 370 all-women business owners, generating more than a total of around $62 billion annual turnover, which is almost 8% of Turkey's economy, and they offer job opportunities to around 250,000 people. Kagider's mission is to support women entrepreneurship and empower women so that their status can be improved both economically and socially. Our mission is to support women's participation to economy through entrepreneurship, because we believe that women entrepreneurs have a strong impact on reversing the trends of gender inequality and women's economic exclusion. That's why we implemented our strategies accordingly and work with a vision of a world where women produce freely. We work with a dream of gender equal world. We believe that by working together, we can highlight the importance of economically empowered women and create an effective impact. As the world agenda is constantly changing, we have witnessed destructive effects of COVID-19 that affected almost everyone, everywhere in the world. For that reason, we feel that we need to be doing much more for women who are affected, who feel vulnerable due to the effects caused by the pandemic, and we keep working hard for that. Kagider's work is focused on Turkish women. However, we all see that women face similar problems in different levels all around the world. That's why our working strategies and models can be applied in other countries, and we can be influenced by other examples similarly. We believe that highlighting women's full and effective participation in decision-making processes and in public life is a must to provide gender equal environment for all. We are here today to discuss solutions for women to be empowered. This can be the best tool to combat the inequalities. Working for supporting women in the economy requires civil society, public and private sectors, and international organizations to work all together in harmony and cooperation. As we all parties here with us today, we can underline the importance of cooperation for our common mission. In 2014, G20 leaders committed to close the gap of economic participation by 25% by year 2025. So for Turkey, we have a specific target of including 3 million more women in the Turkish economy, 50,000 new entrepreneurs. W20 Women 20 Engagement Group was established in 2015 during Turkey's G20 presidency. And Kagider was the first organization to run the presidency of W20. And today, we are happy to see our friends from W20 with us at this panel. Women have serious problems about their participation to labor market. It is therefore important to engage them proactively to both employability and entrepreneurship. Kagider has been working on these areas since 2002. At that time, women entrepreneurship rate was 4%, and today, women entrepreneurs represent only 13% of the entrepreneurs in Turkey. And this number can be increased only through special measures. And to reach out to its aim, Kagider has launched a network of women entrepreneurship organizations, intermediary points for women, to reach out to relevant information and access to markets. We believe we have been working with the aim of ensuring gender equality. The Women Business Network project is one of the Kagider's projects to bring an insight for the empowerment of women and enhance their participation in labor market. This project has been implemented under the coordination of Kagider with cooperation of WICAT and KAİSTER, financed by the EU and the Republic of Turkey. The Women in Business Network project targeted an active lobbying and advocacy strategy in order to guarantee participation from women organizations in Turkey, to negotiate with governmental bodies, and to have more for women's inclusion in the economy. The project aims at providing women with access to value-added production, job markets, and can ensure that they are in an effective communication network. Development of civil society through more active and democratic participation has been encouraged through the project actively by advocating for an increasing presence of women in the business world. Within the scope of project, in order to create a real participatory mechanism, regional meetings, nationwide consultations meetings, search conferences, workshops, and public visits were organized. Our main focus has always been on highlighting the importance of the need of women in public procurement to create a real participatory mechanisms. In order to understand the profile and the real need, we had consultation meetings with more than 400 women business owners and with 34 head of local Women Entrepreneurs Association nationwide. With pioneering experts, we work on the problems and solution ideas to empower women, especially in public procurements, and also on the procurement of local bodies like municipalities. With the change brought by the COVID-19, we transformed our work into the digital platforms. A virtual fair was organized to improve trade opportunities of women for the purposes of the project. The virtual fair took place with great success, and we reached for many participants than stipulated. A web portal was formed to bring together women business owners. This platform constitutes a communication channel for women networks in Turkey. Outputs of the projects have been integrated into one of the Kagiders training portal. The web portal was developed to empower women entrepreneurs in Turkey, as well as with a mobile application, which creates a powerful tool that enables women suppliers to be reached out. Another output of the project included drafting a law proposal after negotiations with the public sector, provide services and counseling to W1 Women in Business Network participants, NGOs, participating women, and to develop the capacities of other existing organizations at national and international scale. Boykat and Kaister, our partners in this project, will be sharing the outcomes of the project, like the expectations of the women entrepreneurs. Our law consultant will share with you the law proposal on public procurement that we have already started the negotiations with the government. And today, we will be hearing international perspective on empowering women, especially through public procurement. Dear Virginia Littlejohn, our global role model and mentor for many years. Dear Vanessa Erobogbo, from International Trade Center, our inspiration to work on public procurement. Anna Felt from UN Women, a big supporter of women empowerment. And dear Gabriela Bogesca, our friends in the Balkans, and a dedicated woman to empower women in EU are with us all today. Their inputs will enlighten our way. I would like to thank all our speakers for being with us, not only today, but also all through our journey. Dear participants, Kagiders Women in Business Network project provides a model for women to be in a business network, to be involved in the decision-making mechanism at greater rates, to contribute to the empowerment of women. Under the review team of 65th CSW, Women's Empowerment and the Link to Sustainable Development, the project outputs have already yielded successful results, and the model itself can be easily adapted and applied in different contexts globally. We keep working hard for providing the sustainability in the project, and we'll be working further to bring different perspectives on the potential opportunities for equalities. Now I give the floor to Begüm. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you, Ms. President. Dear guests, distinguished guests, in this session, valuable speakers are going to share with us their know-how and experiences on global experience on empowering women-led businesses perspective. First of all, I would like to introduce Ms. Virginia Littlejohn, co-founder and president of Quantum Leaps. Ms. Virginia, your microphone is closed.
Muting. Yes, all right. First, I want to say what a joy it is to be with my dear friends from Kagider. We first worked together in 2003, just before we co-did an OECD SME ministerial conference with 86 countries. And it's all been uphill since then. You're really one of the finest women's business groups in the world. And I'm so thrilled to be working with you all on W20 and other issues now. What I wanted to do was to give you my quick overview of some issues and how we can address public procurement in moving forward. I have coordinated or co-coordinated women entrepreneurial issues for the W20 for several years now. This year, I'm co-coordinating both women's entrepreneurship and finance. But in the W20 communique, even though we've had public procurement in it for several years, it has not really made the G20 Leaders Declaration, where every country has to agree. So it's basically 19 countries plus the European Union. So last year, we developed a new strategy with the Women's Entrepreneurship Working Group, basically to play a more active role in driving some of these policies ourselves. So we decided to create a showcase of women entrepreneurial best practices. We've started collecting some of those. And Emine, I was so excited with what you were presenting. We would really love to have a Kagidere case study because it really is a best practice. In addition to that, we're putting together peer learning networks and action alliances. So this will enable us to curate and share knowledge, to build expertise in the constituency, and to train people on advocacy and coalition building, all issues that Kagidere has been doing with Turkey. This will start with women's public procurement in terms of our first action alliance. Public procurement is a multi-trillion-dollar market of which women receive less than 1%. So what I have recently done on behalf of the U.S. Agency for International Development is to complete a global landscaping of women's public procurement with an 82-page report that includes case studies, including references to some excellent ones from the International Trade Center, the United States, Canada, and we want to include what Turkey has been doing with your consultations throughout the country. The ITC has also provided wonderful legislative models and executive branch regulations. So it's not going to be a system now where countries are totally overwhelmed by how do you start a women's public procurement program. That's one of the things that we've heard consistently. How do you do it? They don't even know where to begin. They may not have the statistics that help them. So there's a lot of work that has been identified through this. I think of it almost as an annotated anthology because I had the ability to look at a number of superb initiatives done by UN Women focused on corporate procurement. For example, the IFC, which the International Finance Corporation, which was looking at other issues at the local level and also within the oil, gas, and mining sector, and fabulous things that Eric Chin had done both for the International Trade Center and on public procurement and corporate procurement for the UN. So this will be available both in a printed form and then ultimately it will be available online. And I think we will be able to continue to add to it over time as we get more examples from more countries. In addition, and I'm saving the two best things till last, ITC has just come out with a phenomenal publication. It's like the answer to my dreams since I first started working on women's public procurement in 1979, Vanessa. And that is creating a roadmap for how to create a women's public procurement program, which was launched at the W20's kickoff meeting toward the end of February. And the W20 and ITC will be co-hosting a virtual international summit on women's public procurement in the fourth quarter of this year. And we very much hope, Anna, that we will be able to collaborate with you with the International Finance Corporation, with the deep expertise that Turkey has been building, with the US, which has been doing women's public procurement for 25 years, but we've finally gotten to 5%, whereas Canada sort of leapfrogged and got to 10% with women's public procurement in the SME sector. So there's nowhere to go but up, and we really look forward to working with all of you in making what has been a dream for too many years a reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Littlejohn. And I would like to introduce now Miss Anna Folt, Head of Women's Empowerment Principles, Secretariat UN Women. Miss Anna.
Thank you so much for having me here, and thanks to Kagidet for inviting me and to really drive this topic, which we heard just from Virginia how we all are so passionate about. And I wanted to tackle it a little bit from a different perspective. We are working on gender responsive procurement, both from the public and the private sector, and we are using the Women's Empowerment Principle as the framework that lays out our expectations. And we ask ourselves, and so I'll talk a little bit about what UN Women does on this as well, but we ask ourselves questions related to awareness, knowledge, and action. How often do you think about buying from a women entrepreneur and from a gender responsive company? I do it a lot personally, but how do we know that they are a women-owned business is the second question. I have the intention, I want to do it, but how do I know? And we've been working with Google. So at least in the US, you can actually go on the Google map and see that which one is a women-owned business. And that's how I select personally which vendor I'm using for both privately and publicly, but or professionally. And how often do we actually buy? So the intention is there. How do we know who's who? And then the action. And that's what we're also doing within UN Women in our own procurement system. We are, by having women entrepreneur self-reporting on whether they are women-owned business, this is an opportunity for us not only to know who our vendors are, but also to what extent they are taking the gender lens into account. So we are doubling both the women entrepreneur lens and also the women's empowerment principles, because we think that being a women entrepreneur leading values and culture from a gender perspective is really a win-win situation. So we do take that into account as UN Women when we buy our goods and services, whether it is from procuring a complex evaluation of a program to IT services or purchasing catering for an event. We do have this in mind when we do these choices. But we also ask exactly the same questions to our web signatories. The principle 5 specifically of the principle focus on inclusive supply chains. We ask in governments the same question. And we know that governments are increasingly, as we heard from Virginia, taking socioeconomic objectives into account. And you mentioned a few, Virginia, just want to add is maybe Switzerland, that has also kind of used the gender lens as an incentive for companies to advance gender equality and then be given procurement opportunities. And as also Virginia was saying, this is very important because not only it's $1 trillion industry with procurement, but it means that if women only are landing 1% of spend, there's a huge $1 trillion loss of opportunities for women entrepreneurs. And I would say that the biggest challenge is the lack of data. This 1% figure, we have it because that's a one data collection point, but there isn't sufficient data on where we are. Is it 1%? Is it increasing? Is it less than 1%? And this, I think, figure came from based on large corporations, but it could even be less, but 1% is the one we are going with. And I think that's the biggest problem. Organizations don't know who their suppliers are. They don't know because they're not collecting the data, whether they're women-owned, whether they are gender responsive in any way. It's not systematically collected. And we know also that fewer than 10% of companies disclose information on how they promote gender equality in the value chains. So across the board, I think data is the one point that I would put front and center on the table. I mean, there are many other challenges, but I think today we're focusing on procurement in particular, but there are, of course, other challenges linked to procurement in terms of women's access to capital. We know that the cash flow is a challenge for many women. They already are have difficulties because they have less access to capital than male business. And then trying to land a business opportunity through procurement, you need to have the cash up front to be able to fill that. And sometimes the payment terms are too long for women to have a viable business proposal. So they're not always engaging in this. But I wanted to add another point to the table for discussion is the women's broader underrepresentation in procurement functions. So we know that where women are in decision-making positions, there will be more inclusive of women's business and women's products and services. And statistics show that only 5% of the top-level supply chain positions in Fortune 500 companies are women. And a study from 2019 in the US and Western Europe, where the procurement organization are more advanced, 20% of the top 60 listed companies have women as chief procurement officers. So that is also, if we could advocate and really help promote women within organizations that do the procurement, we know that there will be a better match. But I wanted to end by just saying we do have allies. We do see that there is changes coming, positive changes. A study showed that 66% of global respondents to this survey were prepared to pay a little bit more for a product or service if they knew that the company is committed to promoting economic and social and environmental change. So consumers are with us. So I think in the messaging that we do around this is very important. Which are the inclusive governments, inclusive businesses, and that would really help. We also know that when women are aware that a company is committed to gender equality and supports women-owned businesses, 78% are willing to try their products. So it's good for business, it's good for the organization, it's a win-win. And I think we also see investors are paying more attention to inclusive companies today. And suppliers, once they are suppliers, they're often very likely to become consumers. So it is really a win-win across the board. I think the one point that I'd like to take again is to re-emphasize is the one on data. We need to know, organizations need to know who are their suppliers. Once they know it, they can take more strategic decisions and help promote women entrepreneurs. And I put in the comment box, in the chat box earlier, our step-by-step guidance for how to do gender responsive procurement. So I will not go into the details of that, but happy if you could read that. And just to go back to the initial questions that I asked, how often do we here in this room, this virtual room, actually consciously make decisions to buy from women entrepreneurs? And I think particularly during COVID-19, it's important to show solidarity across the board and really get other women, whether in government, in private sector, with us to make the right decisions that support women and girls. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Folt. Now I would like to introduce our next speaker, Ms. Vanessa Erogbogbo, Chef of the Sustainable and Inclusive Value Chain Section and Head of the SheTrace Initiative of International Trade Center. Ms. Vanessa.
Thank you very much, Begum. Good afternoon, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's so fantastic to be here with you today. Thank you so much to Emin, Yeshim, and the whole team of Kajider for always inviting ITC to join you in lots of these fun activities. And of course, it's always such a pleasure to participate in CSW, and I hope that we will have an opportunity to meet and connect soon at the next CSW in person. Which brings me to the first topic I wanted to highlight, which is, of course, the global pandemic. And I want to talk about this from the trade perspective. So we've seen that COVID has really transformed the business and policy landscape in which companies are operating. And companies have experienced disruptions, both at the global economy level, at the supply chain level. And this has brought about many new and significant challenges for small and medium-sized enterprises, not least of them women-owned enterprises. Global value chains, which account for almost half of international trade, have suffered multiple and overlapping shocks. In these extraordinary times, we've redoubled our efforts towards gender equality as we look to rebuilding economies and to providing the framework and regulations for women to succeed in the post-COVID-19 era. So today, I wanted to share with you 3 developments that make me incredibly optimistic about the future of women's entrepreneurship. First, that we, despite the pandemic, managed to reach a global consensus on how we define women's entrepreneurship. On this, I see Virginia smiling and beaming. On this International Women's Day, after I heard from Virginia, the issue of a definition for women's entrepreneurship was mooted as long ago as a quarter of a century at the OECD conference in Paris, at which Virginia was. So 25 years later, on this Women's Day, ITC with the Swedish Institute of Standards and the International Standards Organization launched the International Workshop Agreement number 34 on women's entrepreneurship terminology and general guidance. This is the first IWA on gender equality and a milestone for women's entrepreneurship development. For decades, there's been no global definition referring to women's entrepreneurship. And we had stakeholders within and across countries, from governments to standards bodies to financial institutions and so on, using different terms to refer to similar concepts or different definitions to refer to the same term. And in some cases, not even having a definition at all. And the result was that this fragmented landscape prevented women and their businesses from realizing their true potential, from accessing finance, from accessing markets, from accessing targeted support, not to mention government's ability to make evidence-based policy. So in the short span of a few months from June to December, we organized 16 workshops, plus 16 informal workshops, plus 2 formal workshops, and I'd like to very much thank Kagider for your engagement and to also recognize the support of UN Global Compact, the Financial Alliance for Women, ILO, and of course, UN Women. Please do have a look at the ISO website where the IWA provides a lot of guidance around women-owned, women-led businesses, cooperatives, as well as the informal sector entrepreneurs. And we call on all of you to join us in spreading awareness about this IWA and to identify new areas for us to work together on standardization. Systems and standards and processes matter. Second thing that makes me very positive is that we have made some important strides on building an enabling ecosystem of policies. At the high-level political forum last year, we launched a new and innovative tool on trade and gender called She Trades Outlook, which helps policymakers to enact evidence-based policies that place women in business at the center of their COVID-19 recovery efforts. And we look at data across 83 indicators and 6 policy pillars. What was really fantastic to see was that despite, some improvement to be made, particularly in the pillar of trade policy, there were many good practices happening in country, from Zambia, where the government is helping women win more public procurement contracts, to Canada, which is integrating gender into free trade agreements, to Malaysia, whose export promotion program is, helping women access international markets, Australia, which has a gender equality in the garment industry initiative. And this has enabled us to kick off numerous initiatives on public procurement, for example. And Virginia referenced this step-by-step technical how-to guide, which I'll pop into the chat box after I finish speaking. But, just to highlight, in Bangladesh, in Gambia, in Nigeria, in Uganda, in many of these countries, we have some information on some of the specific things that they're doing as well on the website. Then third, and to conclude, because I appreciate that this panel is timed, third, and to conclude, what gives me hope is leadership. Women rising in domains that were previously monopolized by men. And for me, that's in my sphere, trade and the economy. We have 3 amazing women leading the 3 international trade organizations. My own organization, ITC, has a female leader. At UNCTAD, the UN Conference on Trade and Development, we have a female leader. And at the World Trade Organization, since a couple of weeks ago, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. This is definitely the start of a new era. At the WTO, the custodian of the multilateral trading system, there's been such an increased focus on women and gender equality. In fact, just this morning, I was really excited to have Ngozi Grace, Dr. Iweala Grace, work in Nigeria at an event that we hosted in Abuja during her first official visit. Beyond the Geneva Trade Triad, it's encouraging to see an increasing interest in leadership from countries and from corporations to develop initiatives targeting women. Let's keep on going. While there's still a lot of work to be done, I think there's much more to be hopeful than not. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Erogbogbo. Distinguished guests, the Republic of Turkey Minister for Family Labor and Social Services, Her Excellency Zehra Zümrüt Selçuk, now honored our panel, and I would like to give the word to Her Excellency Minister Zehra Zümrüt Selçuk. Your Excellency, our Minister.
Thank you very much, distinguished participants. It's a great pleasure for me together with you, even virtually this year, organized by KAGİDER, on the occasion of the 65th session of the Commission on the Status of Women, and I greet you all with respect. I hope that this event will inspire us all to do more and to achieve the better and greater impact on this topic. We believe that social justice and development is only possible with the full participation and also the leadership of women in all walks of political, economic, and also public life. And we continue to work in line with our goal of strong women, strong society, and strong Turkey. So according to our latest development plan, we aim to increase the labor force participation rate of women in Turkey to 38.5%, the employment rate of women to 34%, and the rate of women among self-employed to 20%, and the rate of women among employers is to 10% by the end of 2023. And following these targets, we take important measures and apply incentives to ensure that more women take part in working life. And I would like to state that we decisively continue our efforts to eliminate structural, social, and other problems in terms of women's employment. And we believe that entrepreneurship is one of the most efficient tools in which women can unleash their potential. And by developing innovative ideas with knowledge, experience, and productivity, women become more successful entrepreneurs. So to ensure social and economic development in our country, we believe that we need to increase the number of entrepreneurs in this regard. And I want to thank once more to KAGİDER for taking such initiative to develop and to increase the number of successful entrepreneurs in Turkey. And the Communication Network for Women in the Business World project, which is the subject of this event, plays a great role here. And it is one of the best projects that aim to support women entrepreneurs. and it has been implemented in cooperation with 3 NGOs that carry out considerable work in this field. And taking this opportunity, I would like to congratulate them all. And as the Minister of Family, Labor and Social Services, we will be always in support of their efforts. Dear guests, the COVID-19 pandemic has created a situation that unveils the necessity of the use of technology, and it drives everyone to digital transformation. So it accelerates the process of digital transformation in Turkey as well. Although this outbreak is a harsh time for working life, we are successfully implementing the measures to protect the employment imbalance through social protection mechanisms. We made necessary legal arrangements, and also we developed family-friendly approaches so that we can ensure the family and work-life balance in Turkey. And the challenges experienced in this period highlighted the importance of the inclusive and also strong social security systems. And I'm proud to say that Turkey is one of the countries that has the most comprehensive and broad-based social security system in the world. And during the COVID-19 pandemic, we also observed the strong social security system in Turkey as well. And in line with this, what we experienced during this period also, that companies should increase their technology investments in the future. And companies also should train and employ their staff accordingly in line with the digital transformation. In the face of all these developments, we aim for our country to take the place it deserves in the global economy. And also this economy should be centered around science, information, technologies, and innovation. So we believe that it is highly essential that all enterprises, in particular those led by women, adapt to this technological transformation and digital transformation. So our ultimate goal is happy individual and prosperous family and prosperous society. And during this pandemic, we gathered our work under 4 main headings in line with this goal. These headings are the social security, working life, social services, and social assistance. And we believe that during this crisis period, social support programs become very important for all of the people. So there is no job that our powerful businesswomen cannot be successful. So we should overcome every challenges if opportunities are provided to all of us on equal footing. So we attach great importance to any effort, any action, and devotion demonstrated for this. So I have very much support for every step taken. And today in this panel, we emphasize the support towards women entrepreneurship in all the actions carried out for increasing female employment in our country and in all of the world. And in this regard, allow me to share what we, as the Minister of Family, Labor and Social Services, what we are doing to improve women entrepreneurship in Turkey. First of all, in our strategy document and action plan, we have including a priority policy area focused on the target of developing women entrepreneurship. And we have planned activities specifically for women entrepreneurs in the incubation centers, also in the technology development zones. We develop training programs and seminars organized for ensuring that women entrepreneurs can get some training in terms of information and communication technologies and some kind of awareness raising as well. We believe that women's cooperatives have significant potential in developing women entrepreneurship. So we believe that they will play a leading role in the dissemination of production and trade in Turkey in the future. So we act to ensure the empowerment of women cooperatives, provide for their sustainability, develop their institutional capacities, and also increase their visibility. To this end, we have been organizing regional meetings. We reached 35,000 women in Turkey last year, and we have also supported the establishment of 175 new women's cooperatives in Turkey. Additionally, we have been organizing financial literacy and women's economic empowerment seminars, and successfully we reached nearly 500,000 women in Turkey. So that with this, all of the training programs, awareness raising programs, I do believe that women role models in the business can be inspiring and create awareness so that the girls can aspire for a career in any field in the future. And we encourage the youth to meet and share experiences with this successful women. And also we support female students to become engineers. We have some kind of engineer girls project of Turkey as well. And through the university program of these projects and along with our other ministries, along with the scholarship opportunities for all of our girl students, we provide mentoring support with internship support and employment opportunities as well. And to this end, we are taking important steps for Turkish women to be the strongest business people and leaders of the future. With the incentives and supports we provide, I believe that women will add value to our social, economic, and public life as well. In concluding my remarks, I would particularly like to express that we will continue to our work with determination to increase the number of women entrepreneurs in Turkey and to further empower the existing ones in Turkey. So I would like to express my wish that next year we can meet face to face in New York, and I congratulate those who contributed to the this original and fruitful event, and I greet you with respect. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, our Minister, thank you for your speech. We honored Your Excellency's participation. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, now I would like to give the word to this session's last speaker, Ms. Gabriela Bogaeska, Executive Director of Management and Industrial Research Foundation. Ms. Bogaeska.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Good afternoon, good morning to some of you. For most of you, good evening, I guess. It's a pleasure to be part of this distinguished panel. Thank you very much for the invitation. And as the minister said, I hope that next year we will be able to meet in person and that this pandemic crisis will be behind us. Let's hope and pray for that. I think that the pandemic crisis at the moment, together with the environmental crisis and all the other crises around that, are really the ones that are most that are prevailing. But that does not stop us from working on women entrepreneurship development. That is something that we must continue. And as Vanessa mentioned, Virginia, all previous speakers, maybe we have the right momentum happening now with all those wonderful ladies at leading positions. So women leadership becoming even more and more present, but not only on the international trade organizations, but also on different countries, strong economies. Then we also have a lot of talk about the data, the gender issues and gender lenses that we need to put on the policy. So I believe that that the momentum might be just right now, this year and this pandemic era, so that we can accelerate the women entrepreneurship development. But to shorten down the story, yes, I do come from a small private research foundation, but today I would like to speak a little bit about another role that I have, and that is the community coordinator. I'm coordinating a European community of support organizations that is built around this instrument called WeGate. WeGate is actually one of the main instruments of the European Commission when it comes to supporting existing and potential women entrepreneurs in Europe. And I will be speaking a little bit about what WeGate does, but I will focus a little bit more on what WeGate advocate for, because that is the idea of our session today. So WeGate, one of the central components of WeGate is, of course, this online platform that you might have seen it, because it's been there for a while, since 2016. WeGate.eu, and the idea of this online platform is actually to become a one-stop shop for women entrepreneurs and organizations, so a place where we can find information, inspiration, motivation, but above all, to help us get in touch with peers, with mentors, coaches, potential business partners, and the like. So that is one of the core elements of WeGate, but we also pay a lot of attention to learning. So that's why we have a dedicated peer learning program, something similar to what Virginia also mentioned at the beginning. So we do have a peer learning program for our community, which is focused on building our own capacities in terms of policy policy, advocacy, public procurement. So we really need to empower ourselves in order to empower women entrepreneurs. And that is why we have webinars, we have training events, study visits, hopefully happening physical in the coming period. And we also very much appreciate and promote the process of collection and dissemination of good practices, because there is so much collective knowledge in the ecosystem that we should build upon and not reinvent the wheel. And the third component, which is very important and very close to my field of work, is actually the part of public policy, how to utilize the WeGate community as a social partner in the public policy processes with the European Commission. And in that regards, I would like to share with you some of the fields that we would like to advocate for and that we are working on. And maybe to start with one general remark is, or our general motto is that what we want to do is we want to somehow contribute to fixing the system. Not fixing women, because there is nothing wrong with women. You know, they have been telling us that we should, when we ask for finances, that we should pitch like men, or that we should develop those type of skill sets. No, there is nothing wrong with women. That does not mean that we should not work on our skills. But now I'm talking about fixing the system. So that is our overall motto. And another important thing that I believe is that we already know the gaps within the system. It has been done so many research on that. So now it's about how we can close those gaps, and it's about call for action in order to close those gaps. That is the idea, to do something. And there are so many different aspects that we need to work on, and it has been worked for so many years. But I will just highlight a couple of them today in the interest of time. The first thing that is of utmost importance for us in WeGate is the availability of data, something that also Anna mentioned in her previous speech. Availability of data in terms of gender segregated data, definition of indicators that we would like to collect so that we know what is the condition when it comes to women entrepreneurship in Europe. I know that many organizations like Kagider and many other organizations collect different data, analyze different data. What we would like to seek for is one standardized, unified approach, so that we can, at the level of Europe, have comparable statistics, so that we can compare data, so that we can inform policy. And on the other end, it's important also to have impact indicators, so that once we have a program, we know how to measure the impact from that program. So data together with definition of women entrepreneurs is maybe number one thing that we are going to push for. And I'm very, very delighted that there is this wonderful achievement when it comes to the definitions of women entrepreneurs. I have been part of the process, and it was really rewarding, and I'm so happy about it. And we will definitely promote it, and we will definitely, you can count on us on anything that we can support the implementation of it. So that is the one thing, the data. The another thing is, for us, it is very important because we do organize this so-called Vibarometer. We have this assessment of the needs of women entrepreneurs, and it's repeatedly the access to finance aspect. But what we want to advocate for is, gender lenses on access to finance, in terms of providing access to finance to all stages of development. Not only for unicorns and gazellas, but for all stages of development of women entrepreneurs. First, of course, we need to know what is the share of those unicorns, comparable statistics once again. But in any case, women entrepreneurs, not only the ones that are in the tech sector, they all require certain funding. So we must focus on all the different stages, on all different needs of the women entrepreneurs. So if you talk about collateral, we need hybrid solutions, we need COVID-19 relief funds and things like that. So it's more or less inclusive approach to access to finance, and not only to access to finance, but we need this gender mainstreaming in the policies. We don't advocate for a certain policy that will be only for women entrepreneurs. We would like to see gender mainstreaming in the different policies and programs that are being designed at the European level, top down and then bottom up, hopefully. So that is another aspect. That the third aspect that I wanted to highlight are our skills. You know, we also have to think about how support organizations support women entrepreneurs in practice. So we must continue working on our own skills in order to be sufficiently strong ecosystem. So what also Virginia mentioned at the beginning, we need to learn to continuously learn how to advocate, how to build coalitions, how to empower ourselves in order to empower women entrepreneurs. And that is another aspect that we are also going to work on. And very, very important, what I think is also lacking is the gender awareness training of our organizations that supports women entrepreneurs, because that is also gender equality goes hand in hand with women entrepreneurship development. And finally, but definitely not least, what I wanted to point out is that we will very much focus on some areas that have that most of us think that has the largest impact, and those are the corporate and public procurement. So we will have to look at it, e-commerce or digital society at large. So it depends on how we want to attack that. And then we also want to include ourselves a little bit more in promoting international and cross-border cooperation of women entrepreneurs, as well as participation in value chains and supply chains, because that is also in the global value chains, that is also very, very important. So these are some of the areas that we would like that we advocate for, that we are going to be very much involved, that there will be standing groups that will be working on policy briefs, that will be providing concrete solutions to the European Commission. But we are also here and for any similar initiatives in the field, so that we can join forces and see how we can build the momentum around these topics. So I do invite you to check our online platform and provide us a bit of feedback. We are now in a phase of redesigning the web platform, so there will be new features. So this is the old platform that we have inherited. Now we want to introduce some new features, and definitely we would like to work a little bit more when it comes to corporate and public procurement. And if we can support similar initiatives in the field, we will be very, very happy to do so. So thank you very much for the invitation, and looking forward to the Q&A session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Bogreska, and to all distinguished speakers. We have come to end of this session, and as we have limited time, I would like to go to our last session. In the last session, our project partners Buyukat and Kayser presents, and project legal advisor will share with us some of the outcomes of Women in Business Network Turkey project and the law proposal on public procurement. First of all, I would like to introduce Ms. Oya Eroğlu, president of Buyukat, Bursa Business Women and Executives Association. She is going to share with us what do women expect on public procurement. Ms. Oya Eroğlu.
Thank you, Begüm. Dear Minister and dear participants, I would like to share with you the outputs of our meeting we held with women entrepreneurs in the consultation meetings that we held in 8 cities under the Women Communication Network project in business life. 1. Concerning the participations process in public tenders. One of the first things to be done to increase women's participations in public tender processes enhance women's participation in employment. There is a growing need for education and strengthening programs for women. One of the important problems of women entrepreneurs is that they require support for their responsibilities regarding childcare, elderly care, and home care in order for them to be active in business life. There is a lack of knowledge among women entrepreneurs about public procurement and tender process. It's a very important how the definition of women's business and women entrepreneur is made. There is a need for financial incentives and support programs for women. 2. Concerning the participation process in public tenders, it's a proposal that a provisional quota should be introduced until the participation rate of women suppliers meets that of men suppliers. Partnerships and quota can be established to meet the risks and challenges in the tender specifications. Low market volumes leave women suppliers behind tender processes. It's proposed that market volumes should be arranged in such a way as to meet minimum quality requirements. The tender guarantee is a big obstacle for women entrepreneurs. No tender guarantee and performance guarantee should be required for providing convenience in their rates and terms. It's proposed that women's companies should be paying in shorter methods or in cash. 3. Concerning the strengthening of the participation of women suppliers and public tenders, it's proposed that cooperation networks among women should be improved. It has been proposed that local mapping and accounts networks should be created. In addition to be initiating and implementation process of tenders, the finalization process should also be transparent and accessible. Local authorities are asked to implement women-friendly policies and issue women-friendly specifications. Women's cooperatives of one of the most important solidarity-based production mechanisms for women should be an important topic to put an emphasis on. Legal arrangements should be introduced to support their companies and production, and this should remain an hanging cancer. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Eroğlu. Now I would like to introduce next speaker, Ms. Göknur Atalay, President of KAİSTER, Women Employers and Industrials Association. She is going to share with us the local model on public procurement. Ms. Göknur Atalay.
Thank you, Begüm. Dear participants, I'm very pleased to be with you. I will tell you about our work on local models in public tenders of our project. Association, as the coordinator of women entrepreneurs of Turkey made by KAİSTER, Women Employers and Industrials Association, KAİSTER, with Bursa Businesswomen and Managers Association, WECAT, shareholder, the Businesswomen's Network project modeling studies to increase the participation of women in public procurements is carried out. The realization model for municipalities for the aim of increasing women participation in local tenders includes 4 main headings. If we say this, information acquisition and bureaucratic processes, personnel and communication, social services, relation and with women entrepreneurs and women non-governmental organizations. If we briefly summarize the examples of policies and practice that can be developed with this framework. First item, with the scope of information acquisition and bureaucratic processes. Publishing information about the procurement processes carried out by the municipalities in the form of brochures. Identifying women suppliers operating in each municipality's local area. Municipalities to support local suppliers in procurement. Arrangement of tender specifications that will not exclude women suppliers. Giving priority to female suppliers in direct procurement. Determining a percentage quota for female suppliers in all purchases. Publishing annual reports of municipalities of tender processes. Arrangement of payment schedules in favor of suppliers in order to avoid difficulties of suppliers. Making sustainable protocols with women cooperatives. Establishing a special control mechanism for tender procedures can be counted. Second item, with the scope of personal and communication. Ensuring that the information in the tender processes is acceptable to everyone equally. Training the personnel working in the purchasing unit. The tender part of the website of the municipalities is clear and up to date. Staff should be impartial, fair, and equidistant to everyone. Increasing female employment at the staff level in municipalities. If we look at the third item, with the scope of social services, providing facilities such as free and low-cost daycare centers, nursing homes, study centers, etc., support women's participations in working life. Observing the principle of equality between men and women in the creating job opportunities. Organizing free and certificate training programs where women can gain skills to support their entry into employment. Having free vocational courses provided to municipalities, establishment and active work and gender equality commissions in municipalities. For women, providing multi-purpose center that can be used for production, workshop, marketing, etc., and services such as the computer, internet, office tools, library, etc. Establishment of women entrepreneurship centers, supporting women's cooperatives, gender-supported budgeting and woman-friendly opportunities being essential. And second item, when we look at the relations at women entrepreneurs and women non-governmental organizations, mapping women's associations locally and establishment and active communication mechanism, conducting studies and evaluate women's handicraft products, creating areas where women, especially those were produced in their home, can market their products. Municipalities to purchase products made by women and support marketing in representations, hospitality and gift activities. Providing physical space for women that provide both production and business development opportunities. Direct procurement from women entrepreneurs. As a result, we can say, our wish is for more women to take part in the public procurement and municipalities through their services. I extend my greetings and respect from Turkey. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Atalay. Now, I would like to introduce the last speaker of the session, lawyer Ms. Aylin Moraloğlu, legal advisor of the project. She is going to share with us law proposal on public procurement. Ms. Aylin.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor to me in this project. So another important goal of this project is to make the legal arrangements needed to support women entrepreneurs in public procurement process. Women entrepreneurs face barriers in the process of participating in public procurement and getting shares from tenders. In this respect, women need special support. We determined the needs that could be met by legal regulation based on the statements made by the women entrepreneurs in the consultation meetings held during this project. First of all, we have compiled our amendments proposals that can be made in the public procurement law, which is the basic law on this subject. The public procurement law numbered 4734, which is one of the first laws enacted in terms of harmonization with the European Union acquis and entered into the force in 2003, has been amended 190 times for different reasons in the last 18 years. This time, it was necessary to make a change that would meet the important need for gender equality. Considering that our country has a great public procurement potential, competition, transparency, efficiency in tenders should be increased, and equal treatment should be implemented. As in many countries, women need to be specifically supported in the process of participating in public procurement and getting a share. In this respect, the participation of women entrepreneurs in public tenders and their share purchases in the increasingly competitive environment should be specially empowered and supported. Empowering women's entrepreneurship will also be the driving force of the country's economic development and achievement of sustainable development goals. In the works to be carried out to strengthen women entrepreneurship and women suppliers in public procurement, first of all, legal regulations should be made, and special measures should be taken, and these measures should be implemented decisively. The main legal amendment supporting women entrepreneurs' participation and share in public procurement is based on the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, ratified in 1985. Article 4 declares that adoption by states parties of temporary special measures aimed at accelerating de facto equality between men and women shall not be considered discrimination as defined in the present convention. The 2040 Agenda for Sustainable Development adopted by all nations, Turkey has also been involved in UN Summit 2015. Among 17 sustainable goals, Goal 5, achieving gender equality and empowering all women and girls, is of great importance for the countries to achieve sustainable development. The goal suggests that legal regulations should be made to support taking special measures to empower women suppliers in public procurement practices. The Turkish Constitution, Article 10, is the main basis of the proposed legislative amendments, asserts that women and men have equal rights. The state is obliged to ensure the realization of this equality. The measures to be taken for this purpose cannot be interpreted as contrary to the principle of equality. In accordance with this provision, the state is obliged to take all kinds of measures, including legal regulations, to give priority to women entrepreneurs in tenders until equality is achieved in participation and share in public tenders. We know that increasing the welfare level of our country and reaching the goal of sustainable development can only be possible by benefiting from the potential of women and women entrepreneurs. The main changes we propose to make in the public procurement law are as follows. Adding the definition of women-owned businesses to the article definitions, and adding the phrase equality of men and women to the article of basic principles, adding the phrase exemption of women's enterprises in the terms of the documents to be requested for the determination of professional and technical competence. Adding a clause to articles related to bargaining or direct procurement, such as exception of goods and services subject to procurement if they are produced by women's enterprises. Adding the phrase height of the race determined in the provisional bonds and performance bonds for women's enterprises. The amendment we propose to be made in the Turkish Commercial Code is, in the commercial enterprise section of the first book of the TCC, adding a clause on women-owned businesses to the article of registration in the trade registry. As required by CEDAW, the legislative framework in Turkey, the European Union Acquis and the Directive numbered 41, compliance with the general principles regulating equal treatment of women in public procurement is vital in achieving equality between men and women in economic life and in supporting women entrepreneurs. We believe that the justifications regarding our proposals for legislative change will be taken into consideration and accepted by the Turkish Grand National Assembly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Moraloğlu, and to all speakers for valuable inputs. Before the Q&A session, dear Visionary Lidl John, would you like to have the word for additional comments?
Yes, just very quickly. First of all, I think this was a wonderful, wonderful session with some really important ideas. I think we should come up with an action strategy on how we move this forward at the global level with the ITC, with the W20, with CAGIDER, with UN Women, the International Finance Corporation, which was not on this panel, but which has done some really important work. And I think that it would be really, and excuse me, also with the European Community Initiative and WeGate, because that's a very, very important platform. That's where I first met Gabriela and on a UN initiative. And I've been in ongoing communication with her since then. And it's one of the best, especially as I imagine you're repurposing it slightly now, but it would be a wonderful platform for collaboration. One thing I think is that there are more commonalities and areas of potential synergy between corporate procurement and public procurement, including in the area of subcontracting. That's something that's mentioned in one of the UN publications that Carrick Chin did. And I think we can do a lot of bridge building in that area. I also think it's extremely important that we do capacity building across women's business associations and sharing knowledge and so forth, upskilling, doing much more focus on sustainability and green initiatives, which I think will be hugely important, capacity building on advocacy and coalition building. And in all of our language, because one of the desperate needs around the world right now is job creation in the post-pandemic environment. So I think we need to emphasize how we contribute to the growth of the economy and the creation of jobs. Financial literacy is another area that's really, really important for us to make sure that women understand much better. I also think that getting women lawyers on board with what we're doing will be very, very important. Within the W20, for example, one of our organizational representatives for the EU is the president of the European Women Lawyers Association. So as we're dealing with regulatory issues with the UN as we move away from their original concept of positive discrimination, I think that could have a huge impact. Sectoral focus and capacity building in sectoral areas and gender mainstreaming, including male champions of change who can really work with us on the subcontracting issue and the links between public and corporate procurement, also with the Global Compact and the women's empowerment principles. And then finally, I would say, and we barely are at the beginning stages of this in terms of women's entrepreneurship, but I think we can collate a great deal of the information that we're collecting if we start thinking how we could strategically use artificial intelligence. So I hope we'll be able to coalesce a lot of these kinds of things and move forward in an action way. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dear Virginia, for valuable comments. Now we have last 10 minutes. At the end of our panel, are there any questions to our speakers, panelists? No question? Or do you have any comments? Do you have share us any inputs in this last 10 minutes? Thank you very much.
It looked like someone named Devlin had a comment, Begum.
I think I couldn't see who is the...
Hi, this is Nicole Ross.
Nicole Ross.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Miss Littlejohn, your perspective comes with a lot of knowledge to, put everything together because you've been involved in a lot of projects. Could you tell me a little bit more about how we can correlate all of the information, the private public situation, as well as with the lawyer component, because I see there's a lot of things that are changing at such a fast pace in multiple situations. The only way to merge it all together is to utilize law and artificial intelligence for us to make a big leap in changes in these fields. Could you give me your feedback on that?
Well, I very much agree with you on that. Whose question was this? I'm trying to see where you are on the...
Oh, Nicole Ross in Philadelphia.
Nicole. Yes, Nicole, thank you for that question. I think we need to use the miracle of online communication to perhaps use the WeGate platform, Gabriella, or something comparable, so that those of us who are in communication and dialogue here, I know one of the big impacts this year will be what we do in preparation for having the virtual international summit on women's public procurement that the W20 and the International Trade Center will be doing. What I would like to see happen, and Vanessa and I have not had time to discuss this in depth, but what I would like to see happen, we will be using a very similar platform to what we did for that definitions initiative that Vanessa and Gabriella were talking about. It was absolutely phenomenal. We did 16 events where we talked with different cohorts on women's public procurement, women's finance, women's advocacy, etc. We talked with heads of statistical organizations. So we did all those on the front end. Then we did 3 days of a summit in October and 3 days of a summit in December, where we talked for 3 or 4 hours each day, going through all of the different policy issues. But a lot of the preparatory work with those 16 different groups beforehand was very, very important in terms of understanding what needed to happen. We can come up with peer learning networks in particular areas where we have the statistical needs, which a number of people mentioned how important the statistical needs are. Finally, we have a real definition, one for women-owned businesses, one for women-led businesses. And I had the opportunity to develop the technical note on that for ITC and the Swedish government to help get people to understand how proliferated the definitions were, and that we were never going to get anywhere unless we had crisp definitions. So we need to do the same kind of process, I think, but getting all of the key players who are really concerned about this as an issue, looking at the existing legislation and regulations that exist in the 17 countries that ITC currently has in their database of language and what's happening on women's public procurement, and then having the women lawyers help us move that through their own legislative and regulatory systems, working with women's business groups that have advocacy expertise, etc. So I'll try to get some ideas down on paper and bounce them off of some of these other organizations, and then we can figure the next steps. But I want time for some more questions.
Thank you, Ms. Littlejohn. And the question also, Ms. Nicole Ross, thank you. Now we have a question on the chat from Ms. Devlin. I would like to read the question to all speakers. Many of you mentioned the way you are working with women, but I heard you very little on building up the amount of women involved from a young age, such as wild girls. Have any of you ever considered creating programming to teach girls business skills or anything similar? If so, what? If not, why?
Can I begin? So,
please, President.
Yeah, thank you, Devlin, for the question. Yes, we definitely believe training young women on business skills. And we do have a digital platform, but we are running Women Leaders of Tomorrow program for the 10 years and for the young women at the university. And also actually we have online training programs also for young girls and women, and duşortam.org and to develop their business skills and teaching. And we also have mentoring programs which enable them to gain experience from our mentors. That's our main issues about for young girls. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Emine Erdem, Ms. President. I think we have end of the program, but before the closing the session, can everyone turn on their camera for group photo? We smile all together. 3, 2, 1. And one more, please. 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much. And distinguished guests and the distinguished speakers, we have to come to end of our panel. We would like to thank all our speakers and participants for kind attendance and wish you all have a fruitful and enjoyable CSW meetings. Thank you so much. Good evening and good night.